winners. Welcome to the Odds Breakers, your number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Merry Christmas, my friends. Welcome back to Podcast 107 of 2024. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag. For an up to $1,000 sign-up bonus, please visit this podcast link. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com. Shop, become a member, pick any. For winning campers, get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com, and if nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. It is Christmas, my friends, and it is a Christmas show. So, with that, we always want to have a great guest for you. No greater than the Bear, Chris Fallica from Fox Sports, coming on to talk a little college football playoffs, maybe some of these bowls as well, and maybe even some NFL. We'll see. But Christmas falls on a Wednesday. It's kind of weird, right? It's like right in the middle of the week. So I have to combine this Christmas show a little bit with our other stuff, So I'm going to kind of try to blow through, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. Mostly NFL. We had a great NFL day today. I went 6-1. The only play I lost was a free play we gave out on the under for the Raiders. Yeah, the Jaguars-Raiders should have went over, but, they just really stalled out too much. But, from a betting perspective, it was a fantastic weekend. Well, not fantastic. It was a good weekend. We went 4-4 on Saturday, so some of those dogs just not hitting. And the favorites, it was a weekend of favorites, really was. And, that's fine. We plenty of room to spare. Teasers are 18-5-1 for the year. Refuse to lose teasers are 12-4. So just dominating the teasers. Very, very happy about that. So, man, I got to tell you, I put a decent amount of teasers, but I'm going to have to bet more. I haven't had a losing teaser year. I don't remember the last year. I think in 2020, I might have went like 17-15 or something, which is really close. Depends upon what juice you're getting, right? But anyways, we have a lot to cover, and so let's get right into the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend. And there was plenty. The good, Notre Dame. Jeez, they're good. This team is a complete football team and very dangerous. I tweeted out that I thought Oregon is the most complete team, but Notre Dame's the most dangerous team, Most skilled team, Ohio State. They definitely showed up this week. Ohio State was part of the good this week, making up for the Big Ten looking bad with Indiana, but they didn't look as bad as the ACC, did they? Big old Clemson getting their ass kicked. So bad that freaking Texas almost hit the over themselves, so my under was just toast. I should have did the dang team total under, so I should have done. But, Clemson was terrible. SMU just, I'm not sure which team you're playing for, Kevin Jennings. 2 pick sixes in the beginning, and then another pick in your own territory. They're out of the game from that point. I didn't even watch the second half of that game. I actually watched a Chiefs game over that. I could not believe it. Another good is Montana State, man. I was watching it with a buddy, and I might actually bring him on for a show later this week or next week because Montana State's in the championships, and he's an alumni there. He's a massive Cats fan. He calls it Catter Day for Saturday. There's massive football fans, FCS, and super excited about it. Touchdown Tommy's out there, and Taco Dollar is catching TDs. His brother plays on defense. I think his name's Caden or something. Man, it was just awesome watching Montana State. I have much better time that watching Montana State than some of the other games. The other games sucked. I'm telling you, the home field advantage was massive. Another good, Jaden Daniels, man, that I was almost going to put him in the bad for throwing that interception and spotting the Eagles another 3 points. I had Eagles +4, and they're up by 5. And then, boom, I had to forgive the man because he drove all the way down and scored a touchdown with a minute left. I mean, that is poise. And that's why Jaden Daniels is definitely the rookie of the year, and maybe the best quarterback in this draft. Still, time will tell. Vikings, they just pull shit out of their ass. And I don't know how they keep doing it, but the face mask on the quarterback, Sam Darnold, gave him the first down. They're going to lose that game. And then they throw the bomb to Jefferson, who was freaking wide open. Man, the penalties in that game, though, was just awful. But, man, the Vikings, 13-2? And then the Eagles lose it now? The Eagles, forget about them getting the full home field ride, unless, of course, Lions or Vikings lose it. I think it's going to be between the last game with the Vikings and the Lions. It's going to be interesting. What else we have? We have the bad. Let's go to the bad. The bads was that roughing the passer on Indiana, dude. It was a late, like they say it's a late hit. He was pushing him as he was going out. And when his hands touched him, they're both in bounds. And they called that, which really, really took Indiana completely out. Now, Indiana was kind of out of the game anyway by then, but that was just absolute crap and trash. And you know what? The officials played a pretty big role this whole weekend. Another bad was just Curtis Rourke in general. The stage was too big for these teams. The stage was too big for the SMUs, the Indianas. They're better than what they showed. But, man, they showed up and just got nervous. That's what I think. That's what I think happened to SMU. Even Clemson was very bad. And Tennessee, they're nervous too. But Ohio State just boat raced them. But it is what it is. Kevin Jennings already made my bad, as you know, with SMU. Also, the Jalen Hurts injury. I think my bet on the Commanders +4 was the wrong side right result, wrong play right result, or whatever. That happens, and I'm definitely on the bad beat side more often. But I really think the way they started the jump to Washington, they probably would have had another 10 points at least. Maybe Washington comes through the back door, but man, that's tough. I don't like winning because of that. Of course, I like the money because of it, but the fact that I lose because of it, we'll take it. Now for the ugly. Indiana missing the 2-point conversion. I would have the books would have got middle if it landed on 8. I had Indiana +8.5. I would have loved that slimy little onside kick backdoor system, but it didn't happen. But man, it's like, come on, get the 2. It's like the game was completely out of reach for me. My buddy who's a Notre Dame fan I was watching with was just nervous the whole time. But man, yeah, that's how it is. Also, the Tank Dell injury from Saturday was really gruesome. His knee kind of flopped all over the place. It looks like his kneecap was dislocated, so he's going to be out for the rest of the season, most likely. Of course, maybe better news comes in. Another ugly dogs all weekend, man. It was really a weekend for favorites, and believe it or not, we were laying to the favorites this week. I was on the Lions, I was on the Chiefs, I was on the Ravens. It was just one where I'm like, man, I hate all the dogs this week, and thank God it really set up well. But unfortunately, from the college side of things, I wish I did lay off the dogs. Next we have the Arizona Cardinals. How ugly is that? You get knocked out of the playoffs and the playoff contention against freaking Carolina. That's the game you're going to freaking lose. Man, Cardinals. I don't know. Kyler Murray I'm so up and down with that kid. Talent, but is he a real quarterback though? He's so short in that pocket and lots of passes batted down. He's just got to do magic tricks really to do it. I don't know. But that's going to be an issue for the Cardinals until Timbuktu. I mean, they're going to keep him, I think. Next, we have the playoff committee. Oh my freaking God, guys. So you're meaning to tell me that for the quarterfinals of the playoffs, the two best teams are freaking playing each other?
Fucking bullshit!
You know? I mean, how bad do you have to be at this by setting up a bracket where the freaking conference champions are being punished? I mean, it's not like Georgia's got it real easy either, even though fuck Georgia. But, I'm still pissed about the Georgia Tech game nonsense. But still, this is tough on Notre Dame now. While Texas, the 5 seed, gets to play ASU, an injured ASU team. I mean, they're 14-point favorites here. What the hell? Why do they get rewarded? And then you have Penn State gets to play Boise. These are the losers of their conference championship games. What the hell? What a terrible way of setting this up. I mean, the people there should be completely gone. Clean the house. It's absurd. I hope that some Ohio State media and Notre Dame media is all over this shit this week. This is crap. But either way, that's why it made my ugly. And we're actually recording this on a Sunday instead of a Monday because we have a lot to discuss.
Blondie, hey, you realize we might be risking our lives?
Yeah. And if I get killed, you'll never get your hands on all that beautiful money.
All right, now it's time for a little NFL misleading final scores from Week 16. Only 3 of them right now. Of course, this is before the night game as it's going to start shortly. The Jets outgained the Rams 321-242, yet lost 19-9. A 2-1 turnover ratio and poor red zone offense crashed the Jets. The Falcons only outgained the Giants 329-234, yet won 34-7. A terrible 3-1 turnover ratio and poor red zone killed the G-men. The Seahawks outgained the Vikings 361-298, yet lost 27-24. A 2-0 turnover ratio and poor special teams got the Sea Chickens. So that's the only 3 that are really made a little bit of sense. We'll see what the rest of the scores are at the end of the night. So that brings us to NFL Week 17 betting spots. Letdown spots. The Commanders could be soft hosting the Falcons after the big Eagles win, and the Dolphins could let down at the Browns after the 49ers win. That's really all I have. Not any massive upsets otherwise this weekend. It's not like the Panthers are going to let down after they're doing so poorly. Funny enough, they're 4-11 now. They're actually ruining their draft pick. Kind of funny to think about that. When you have the Bears, though, I'm pretty confident that they're going to slide right into the top 6 or 5 draft positions here because what do they have? The Vikings and the Lions left? No, they have the Packers and the Vikings. It don't matter. They're screwed. They just played the Lions. I laid the Lions. So the get-up spots are really the Eagles. They need to get back up hosting the Cowboys, and the Broncos need to get back up after the Chargers loss at the Bengals. Look ahead spots. The Chargers could look past New England to some to the Raiders. New England really fought well against the Bills. That was a 3-point game at the end. Really backdoored that touchdown. There's a lot of flags being thrown on some of these games. And man, I got to tell you, there was a lot of flags. I'm going to count the flags here. Or at least the accepted penalties is what you can count because the declined penalties don't show up here. But this Seahawks, man, they had 11 penalties for 77 yards, and the Vikings had 7 penalties for 70 yards. So just a lot of penalties. Look ahead spots. The Chargers, like I said, short rest. The Packers after Monday night at the Vikings are on short rest, and the Saints after Monday night hosting the Raiders. Long rest. The Broncos after Thursday night at the Bengals, and the Chargers after Thursday night at the Patriots. So those are your long rest spots. The reason the Saturday games aren't long rest is because those teams all play each other again because now the Ravens are playing the Texans and the Chiefs are playing the Steelers. So they're going to have the equal amount of an extra day of rest for this week. All right, now it's time for a little college football, my friends. And here's the agenda. Chris Fallica is going to come on in a little while, and we're going to try to just mention every single day, definitely do the playoffs. We can't break down every single game. This just would take too long. I will continue to do that throughout the rest of December, as today I'm going to be doing December 26th and December 27th. And then for Friday's show, it's going to be NFL and December 28th and the 30th and possibly the rest of the season. Just depends upon how far I get. Otherwise, there'll be one more podcast of college bowl games. But the goal is to get it all done this week. And I just didn't want to start on Saturday's games until later this week just to make sure that we get more information on opt-outs. So without further ado, let's kick some Christmas music off and get into these bowl breakdowns for the 26th and the 27th. All right, and just like everything, there's going to be an article out based upon this information. And I just want to give a shout out to Stuckey from the Action Network for providing all this wonderful injury and opt-out data for us for college bowl season. He's been absolutely fantastic over at the Action Network. So starting with Thursday, December 26th, we have the Game Above Sports Bowl. Pittsburgh versus Toledo. Toledo plus 6.5, total 51 at Ford Field in Detroit, 2 p.m. on ESPN. Pittsburgh's motivation is going to be medium-low. From playoffs to Detroit, Pat Narduzzi is 2 and 4 ATS in bowl games. Toledo's motivation is also medium-low, I feel. Not a good bowl for them. They go there all the time. And Jason Candle's only 1 and 6 ATS in bowl games. Toledo's only 58 miles away from Detroit, so definitely should be somewhat of a home field advantage, maybe a 1.5. Key guys missing for Toledo. Left tackle Alan Jones missed the finale, and safety Emmanuel McNeil-Warren hasn't played since week 9. Pitt's got some guys in the transfer portal. Defensive tackle Naki Johnson is the main one, but starting quarterback Eli Holstein and starting running back Desmond Reed missed the finale due to injury, so we have to take a look at that. Their left tackle hasn't played since week 7. He thinks Pat Narduzzi says Reed should be ready to go, but not positive on Holstein, and that's not a good thing. They'll have to go to redshirt David Lynch if he's out. But like I said, the bowl ATS, both teams just don't seem to play great in bowl games. Net yards per play is Pittsburgh plus 0.39. The key stats is really there's nothing more important than the strength of schedule discrepancy. Obviously, Toledo 125th in the MAC. And then the Pitts is 54th. So that's massive. But neither coach, like I said, does well in bowl games. Both teams aren't the greatest at running the ball, yet Pitt might be better on defense and stopping the run, allowing only 3.07 yards per attempt, which ranks 8th in the nation. The biggest question is the quarterbacks. If Holstein can't go, then, you know, if he can go, bet Pitt if you find out. If he can't go, then you don't. But you're not going to know until the game time. I lean Pitt right now at minus 6.5. The Rate Bowl. I guess there's no more guaranteed on that rate. Rutgers versus Kansas State minus 6.5, total 50.5. And Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, right close to me. ESPN, it's going to be at 5:30 p.m. Rutgers motivation's high. This team doesn't bowl often. Greg Schiano 6-2 ATS in bowl games. Kansas State's motivation's low, I think. This team was close to the Big 12 championship game at the end of the season, kind of had their hearts ripped out. Key guys missing. Rutgers got wide receiver Chris Long in the transfer portal, but he hasn't played since week 8. Kansas State's got starting right tackle Carver Willis committed to Washington, and starting wide receiver Keegan Johnson might be transferring and not playing. Running back DJ Giddens is going to the NFL draft and opting out, and so is cornerback Caleb Parrish going to the NFL draft. Chris Kleiman's only 2-2 in bowl games, but like I said, Schiano 6-2. Kansas State's got a massive yards per play advantage, plus 1.88. Key stats. Not really a hell of a lot to say other than Kansas State should be able to run all over this team. Ranking 15th in rush EPA is what Kansas State is. Rutgers ranking 123rd in opponent rush EPA. The Wildcats also have had the harder schedule, but in saying that, Rutgers should be much more motivated here, just based upon what happened at the end of the year and Shiano being so good in bowls. I'm going to wait to see who else is opting out in this one, but Shiano will get his team up for bowl games, and we'll see if Kleiman can hold on to some of his guys. I'll lean Kansas State for now. The 68 Ventures Bowl, Arkansas State versus Bowling Green. And this number's kind of moving a little bit. It's getting closer to 7.5 from when I wrote this, so hopefully you can get it soon. The total is 51. Actually, I'm going to have to call this 7.5. There's too many 7.5s out. Very few 7s right now. We'll call the 7.5, total 51, 9 o'clock p.m. on ESPN, Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. Arkansas State's motivation should be medium high. Good old Butch Jones, 6-2 ATS in both games. But Bowling Green's motivation, I'm going to say medium. Not a great opponent, yet Scott Loeffler is only 0-2 ATS in bowls. So medium to medium low, actually. Home, really none, as Arkansas State's still over 450 miles away here from this location here in Mobile, Alabama. Key guys missing. Bowling Green transfer portal. There's a few of those. Starting right tackle Alex Walschlager signed with Kentucky. Starting linebacker Joseph Sipp signed with Kansas. Running back Terrian Stewart is in the transfer portal. Defensive tackle Devontae Miles and cornerback Edward Rambo. Cool name, Rambo. Almost like Rambo. Bowling Green's potential opt-outs. Cornerback Jordan Olakuden could opt out, but we're starting to hear that there won't be too many of those, so that's good. So yeah, we got some guys in the transfer portal, but most guys should be playing. Arkansas State transfer portal starting cornerback Dante Joyner, defensive end Jaden Jones, backup quarterback Timmy McLean, defensive lineman Nate Marty, and defensive end Jaden Jones hasn't played since week 9. Arkansas State Butch Jones 6-2 ATS. Bowling Green Scott Loeffler 0-2 ATS. Net yards per play. Bowling Green has a massive plus 2.06 net yards per play here. Key stats is if everything held even here, Bowling Green should be able to just move the ball at ease. They dominate every single category compared to Arkansas State. My only concern is just that Scott Loeffler is not a good bowl coach. Only 0-2 ATS, while Butch Jones is, but I'm still playing Bowling Green. I played it at 7. I lean it. I'll play it. I'll give it out as a play here and count it at 7.5. I just see them winning this game pretty handily against an Arkansas State team that really doesn't belong. Arkansas State's probably my lowest power-rated team that's in all of these bowls. Moving on to Friday. And December 27th, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, Oklahoma versus Navy. All the way down to +3, total 43.5 in Ammon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas, 3 p.m. on ESPN. Oklahoma's motivations, medium low. This team had their big win against Alabama, and they're building for next year. Navy's motivation's high. Why not get one more shot at a big-name team? Home is really close to Oklahoma. Norman's only 183 miles away, so give them the full 2.5 points. But still, there's going to be some guys from Navy there too. Key guys missing. Oklahoma starting quarterback Jackson Arnold signed with Auburn. Starting wide receiver Brendan Thompson signed with Mississippi State. The other receivers J.J. Hester and Jaleel Farouk all gone too. Tight end Bauer Sharp is gone, signed with LSU. Cornerback Josh Bates is he signed with Arkansas. Center Josh Bates. Cornerback Kanye Walker is the one that signed with Arkansas. Center Josh Bates is going to SMU. There's just a lot of guys gone. A couple other wide receivers were injured this year. Nick Anderson and Andrell Anthony. Navy's got no opt-outs. They're armed forces. They don't opt out of stuff. They're committed kids. Brett Venables 1-1 ATS in bowl games. Brian Newberry 0-0. Key stats, 2 huge things really. Oklahoma did have the second hardest schedule in the world compared to Navy's ranking 88th, but the fact that Oklahoma may struggle to field the whole team here with everybody leaving is really screaming. that you want Navy in this game. Oklahoma, close to home, but man, there's going to be a few Navy fans there. I don't understand why Oklahoma would even be motivated in this game. This game means nothing to them. They're still going to be a good recruiting team. Nobody's going to judge them. Navy's going to win the game. I like Navy on the money line. I have a much better number than this, but take Navy on the money line at plus 130.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And a Happy New Year.
The Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech versus Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is plus 2.5, total 51.5 at Protective Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama, 3 p.m. on ESPN. Georgia Tech's motivation's high. They love playing SEC teams, I'm sure, right? And then Virginia Tech's motivation, I'm predicting, is also high. It's not a far travel, and Pavia's last year could go out with a W, but it's not his last year because he just got one more year of eligibility, so I probably should change that. For home, both locations are really about less than 200 miles away, I would say. So I still do kind of like Georgia Tech here, though, being that's probably going to have a bigger fan base. You know, key guys missing. You got a couple guys in the transfer portal starting for Georgia Tech. Wide receiver Eric Singleton, and starting left tackle Corey Robinson, starting offensive lineman, or outside linebacker, I should say, Romello Height, starting safety Tay Seymour, and then a couple other smaller guys. And then you have Vanderbilt, who, I should just confirm that quarterback Haynes King says he's going to play this game, so that's great news for Georgia Tech. Vanderbilt, transfer portal, starting offense tackle Gunnar Hansen, signed with FSU, and backup quarterback Nate Johnson. Bowl coach ATS, all you have info is on his Brett Key, 1-0 for Georgia Tech, and then Vanderbilt Clark Lee is at 0-0. Georgia Tech's got a big net yards per play advantage at 1.17. Key stats, Georgia Tech really gets by from quarterback Haynes King running the ball, but so does Vanderbilt with Dylan Pavia. You know, that's their MO. There's a significant edge here, though, for the Yellow Jackets, and the fact that they should be able to move the ball both running and passing, ranking 34th in offensive success rate. Vanderbilt's defense only ranks 114th on defensive success rate. So as long as the kids are playing, Georgia Tech should cover this spread, in my opinion. I just think that these teams are very interesting because they both played very well against Alabama and Georgia. Vanderbilt beat Alabama at home, and Georgia Tech should have beaten Georgia in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's just very interesting to me that both these teams were really good, and this might be a very underrated bowl. But I like Georgia Tech. I like Georgia Tech on the money line, though. So I would say minus 135 money line on Georgia Tech is a good play.
It's bloody Christmas!
All right, next game, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Arkansas minus 2, total 54. This is at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee, time at 7 p.m. On ESPN. Texas Tech's motivation is medium high. They get to beat an SEC team, and Arkansas's motivation is medium low. Lots of kids in the transfer portal. Home team is Arkansas, only 310 miles away. Give them 1.5 points here. Key guys missing. Texas Tech's transfer portal. Left tackle Dalton Merriman, 488 snaps. Defensive tackle Trayvon McAlpine, 284 snaps, and wide receiver Jordan Brown, 153 snaps. There's some injuries, though, on Texas Tech. Quarterback Baron Morton will miss the bowl after having surgery. Ouch. Offensive linebacker Harvey Dyson hasn't played since week 9. That's outside linebacker. I don't know why I keep saying that. Starting defensive tackles, DeBraylon Carroll and Quincy Ledette missed the final. That's really the key ones. Wide receiver Josh Telley is opting out for Texas Tech. Now, Arkansas's got a ton in the transfer portal, too. Starting center, left guard, right guard, wide receiver, tight end, safety, just all kinds of guys. Linebacker Brad Spence, the defensive end Nico Daviar. Also, the wide receiver Andrew Armstrong is opting out. A running back. They're going to be a mess. Texas Tech, Joey McGuire is 2-0 in bowl games. Arkansas, Sam Pittman in 1-1. Key stats: Texas Tech's quarterback's gone, but freshman Will Hammond is going to play. He did not see, or he did see some action this season, so that's good. Now, it looks like Taylon Green's going to start for Arkansas, which is great for Arkansas, but man, he's not going to have an offensive line blocking for him, so they're all gone. I mean, I don't have no idea what to do with this game. I guess I would lean the over, but just because they're also missing so many defense. But no, this is probably the most stay away game that I can find right now on bowl season. DirecTV Holiday Bowl, Syracuse versus Washington State. Washington State plus 15.5, total 59.5 in Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California, 8 p.m. on Fox. Now, this is another mess. Syracuse motivation's medium. It's fun to go to San Diego and visit. They get to play a team, former Power 5 team. But Washington's motivation's low because everybody's ditching them. And there's no home field advantage. Washington State, Jake Dickard left to take the same position at Wake Forest. They also lost offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle to Oklahoma. I mean, they don't have a head coach, an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, a quarterback's coach, and a running back's coach. Everyone's leaving. Running back John Mateer committed to Oklahoma. The running back left, starting wide receiver, right tackle, cornerback left, linebacker, safety, defensive tackle. This is a mess. And Syracuse only has a few people in the transfer portal. Yeah, I mean, all 10 starters for Washington State, well, 10 out of 11, right, in the portal. You should call this the opt-out bowl. Syracuse only has cornerback Jaden Bellamy in the transfer portal and a couple smaller guys. He also expects everybody to play that's going to play from the transfer perspective. So, I mean, this is why this is the biggest spread in bowl season and bigger than the Army spread, probably think, or it's right around it. Because Army's like 15 to 17 point favorites too. But Coach Bowl ATS, Jake Dickard's 0-2 for Washington State. Syracuse, Fran Brown's 0-0. Although Jake Dickard's gone anyway, so that shouldn't matter. Yeah, I just can't see how you could bet a dog here. Washington State's net yards per play plus 0.95. That doesn't matter. There's really nobody playing for Washington State. You know, and Washington State had a super easy schedule, but just the amount of people leaving it's either lay the points or take their team total under. I think even as bad as Syracuse's defense is, I think I'm going to take the team total under, but I'm going to wait on it. I have no rush to get into this one, and I don't even care if I don't. I mean, I don't really want to lay a ton of points like this in bowl season anyway. Maybe the young kids for Washington State will be really motivated. The SRS Distribution Bowl, Las Vegas Bowl, I should say. Texas A&M versus USC. USC plus 3.5, total 52 at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. 10:30 p.m. on ESPN. Texas A&M's motivation's medium. It's good to play a team like USC, and USC's motivation medium high, I guess. They get another chance to beat an SEC team in the same stadium this year because they played at Allegiant and beat LSU in game one way back in August. USC is just much closer to Allegiant Stadium, 275 miles away, but I do see a lot of A&M guys going to Vegas and having some fun. Give USC a 0.5 home field for that, but there's a lot of key guys missing. A&M's got a few in the transfer portal, starting wide receiver Cyrus Allen, offensive lineman TJ Shanahan, offensive guard Cam Dewberry, and backup quarterback Connor Wegman, the original starter, signed with Houston. Man, was I down on him. I was glad I was right about that. Texas A&M opt-outs, a bunch of defensive tackles. Well, DE defensive tackles, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, and Shamar Turner. Interesting. Two guys, the same first name. Head coach Mike Elko says he doesn't expect any other opt-outs, so that's really great for them. And Texas A&M's potential opt-outs, I suppose, would be Lavium Moss, but now USC's got a lot of people in the portal. 3 wide receivers, Kyron Hudson, Deuce Robinson, and Zachariah Branch. Starting right tackle Mason Murphy, so that's interesting. Backup running back Quentin Joyner. Tight end Cade Eldridge, who played 234 snaps. Safety Zion Branch at 217 snaps. Outside linebacker Sam Green, 205 snaps. This Lincoln Riley shit is a mess. You know, Miller Moss is obviously leaving. I don't know what to say about them. USC's got some definite opt-outs too. Cornerback Jalen Smith and running back Woody Marks. Lincoln Riley's 3-3 ATS in bowl games. Mike Elko's 1-0. Yards per play USC plus 0.11. But I don't know what's keeping me off this number. The rushing advantage goes to Texas A&M, ranking 43rd in rush EPA, to USC, ranking 92 in opponent rush EPA. The passing advantage to USC, ranking 8th in passing success rate, to Texas A&M, ranking 40th in opponent pass EPA. The problem is that all the D-line opt-outs for A&M make me a little nervous. The wide receiver opt-outs for USC, though, might be even bigger. So I think I go back and forth on this. I'm just going to lean A&M for now at the 3.5. But I might not bet this game. I'm thinking about it. This could be, if you really like moneyline parlays, which sometimes work out for people, I think this might be one, you can box them with somebody else that's about a 5-point favorite and get plus money. So this could be one of those plays, but it wouldn't shock me if USC went outright as well. All right, my friends. Well, there you have it. We have a lot to talk about because Chris Fallica is ready to come on, and we're going to get into the college football playoffs as well as all of these wonderful days of bowls. So without further ado, let's bring on the Bear from Fox Sports. All right. Here we are. Really happy to welcome back a college football and horse racing expert that you've heard here many times, and Chris Fallica from Fox Sports Big Noon Kickoff and the Bear Bets podcast. Chris, my man, here we are. Are you in the holiday spirit this week?
Oh yeah, I'm getting there. I'm a little jaded right now. I'm a little bit of a I hate everything type mode right now. A couple off of the results we had in the college football playoff, that even though we kind of should have expected it, being that we added teams who were going to have to play a road game against good teams and kind of diluted. So I'm just a little I'm in a little bah humbug mood right now, Kiev. So I'm gonna need a day or two. Hopefully by Christmas morning we'll be in a good place again.
Oh, I feel you, man. It's Monday, so that never helps, Maybe this little Christmas quiz I'm going to give you might cheer you up a little bit. Well, hopefully it does. Makes you think about some positive things. But it is Christmas. Chris and I love to talk about food and other things. So we've covered almost everything in the past. So I'm going to do it either or for you. Okay. So it's just going to be, I'm going to ask you this or this. What's your preferred on Christmas? And obviously some of these are both really good and some might be both bad. So I got 7 of them here. We'll start out with the Christmas quiz. How about this? We'll start out right away with sports. On Christmas Day, NFL or NBA?
NFL. That's not even anything or NBA is always the answer with me.
If you ask me,
whatever the other is, that's where I go.
If you ask me in the 90s, I'd probably say NBA because of Jordan, but nope. It's ever since then it's been NFL for me.
Good point. Yes. Yeah. You go back to 90s, and then you got an option. But now, no shot.
Okay. Well, here's one that I thought of: scallop potatoes or mashed potatoes.
Mashed.
Okay.
I'm a mashed guy. Especially a little. Want to go even more specific? Maybe a little garlic mash.
Yes.
Go with I'm definitely on the team mash.
I love team mash too, my man. I think the big foods, the big holidays, mash. I certainly wouldn't say no to both though. The scalloped potatoes with cheese.
No, sometimes the scalloped potatoes. Not that it's too much work, but sometimes they're a little harder to go down. Like it feels a little bit heavier, probably because it is. But mash can just kind of like melt and like slide down. But yes.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Great points on that. So mashed, it is so key to some of these big meals. How about Christmas music on Christmas or Christmas movies on Christmas?
I'm gonna say music. Yeah, just because you can have it going on in the background and you're really not paying attention, and you can couple it with just throwing the NFL games on TV and just have a little Christmas music playing in the background.
That's a great point. Now, unfortunately, both of them, they get very tiresome this time of year. We watch the same ones every single year. But, that makes sense to me. You have to have a little music on in the background because me and you love sports so much. So I agree with that. How about this one? Cheesecake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. All right, you finish off with the big thing.
It's funny. It was funny though. I said to my wife a couple of weeks ago, like, I'm not a huge cheesecake guy, but then a buddy of mine, a coworker, sent me a junior's cheesecake for the holidays. Like, I like cheese. Growing up in New York, fantastic. Like a good cheesecake, yeah. And junior's cheesecake is certainly that. So there are a little bit of some addendums there, but
yes,
usually you go ice cream and cookies and cream, or coconut ice cream, maybe just something like that. Pralines and cream.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hard to go wrong with either. But obviously the ice cream hits the spot for you. I'm going to go cheesecake on this one, just because I want to be a little different. And I mean, with my kids, we have plenty of both usually around the house. So
if you would have said key lime pie, then that's a no-brainer. Like I'm not usually a massive dessert guy. Like I'll have a little sorbet or some ice cream every now and then. But like a good key lime pie, forget it. We were just down in the Keys a couple of weeks ago, and like that was forget it. That was game changer. End of story right there.
Well, I have a key lime tree in my yard, and they're just smaller
do
limes.
You?
I do. I absolutely do. And there's a ton of.
I'm gonna come visit. I'm gonna have to come visit and steal some produce,
brother. Anytime. You know where I'm at, Arizona. I'm sure you'll do a game here one of these days. We'll go out and get some lunch or something too.
Yeah.
But my man, I'll give you as many key limes as you want. You want to come probably September-ish. August, September, October, November are usually the times where we can pull them off the tree and they're ready.
Here we go. Big noon from Arizona State next year.
I
just made the decision for our programmers.
Well, fantastic, man. Get them on board. Get it booked. Would love to give you some, because we actually can't even use them all. It has so many, so that's fantastic. And we'll work on a recipe for the key lime pie. How about this? Best for dips. This is tough. Cream cheese or sour cream?
Cream cheese, and I have to go cream cheese. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
I have to go cream cheese just because of my affinity for the cheese ball. But I will say, like, sometimes, and with the melted, and when you melt it down with the red pepper jam that we were talking about,
yes, which was delicious.
Sour cream with like the Knorr's veggie dip or the spinach chip, that'll work with the sour cream. But when you're talking cheese ball and red pepper jam with some that's forget it. That's again easy decision.
Absolutely. So you got two tough ones there. Sour cream is more flexible though. That's the problem. You can do taco dip.
Yes,
you can
exactly.
The avocado dip. There's all kinds of different things you can mix with sour cream. The French onion and the ranch. So it's just that
7-layer dips and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's tough. Gingerbread cookies or sugar cookies?
I'm gonna say sugar cookies. I'm not a massive fan of either, but push come to shove, I will go sugar cookie.
Okay, I don't think gingerbread's any good, so that's easy for me. I'm going sugar cookie on this. I think gingerbread's for the houses, for the kids to make. It doesn't taste nearly as good as sugar cookie. Although I will say the gingerbread coffee creamer is actually pretty good. It's nice and sweet. So for some reason I like that. All right, here's the big one. Chris, the grand finale of the questions for your main course.
Oh, there's my fake drum roll.
There we go. Main course: ham or prime rib?
Well, we're talking for Christmas.
Yes, Christmas.
Ham.
Okay. This family.
I like prime rib, but a good Christmas ham, little spiral cut. Yeah, that's the way it's. It's the way it's got to be, because I think you have prime rib, like I'll have like throughout the year as well. It feels like more of not an everyday type of meal, but you got to a nice dinner, I'll have the prime rib. That's a natural. But ham is one of those things that just kind of feels like it's more appropriately placed for either like a Thanksgiving accompaniment or Christmas or another like holiday. Doesn't feel as every day of a meal as prime rib, so I'm definitely going to go ham.
Yeah, ham is more Christmas to me. Now I think we might be making both this year, so that'd be awesome. Not doing all the cooking, but I will say that ham gravy, you got to make the ham gravy. It's just use the juices from the ham, just use the simple brown brown gravy. It's just such a savory
So
gravy.
the salt in it.
The salt is
with
massive.
a little bit of like whether you have maybe some brown sugar or something like in the ham as well.
All the drippings come off. You make the gravy out of it. It's so savory, and it's great with the mashed potatoes. Just like you said, man, the mashed potatoes. It is just a wonderful mix. So make sure you guys make ham gravy. Great stuff. Well, hey, man, now we're more in the Christmas spirit here. Now let's ruin our days with this question.
I'd be more in the Christmas spirit if Josh Allen would have scored a touchdown yesterday.
I know.
Cost me a $40,000 touchdown scorer parlay. It was the shortest leg of the parlay and the final one, and I didn't have the yes/no market to be able to get off of it, and I didn't. I'm not a cash out guy. I could have cashed out for $9,000 at halftime, but I'm like, I'm not cashing out for a quarter of what I potentially could win.
Dang. I know. Well, you know what? And you told me that before the show. That's a bummer. And of course, it's always the weakest leg that should have been the most obvious to cash, and then there it is.
Weakest leg in the last one because I had Jackson Smith and Jigba as one, and he scored right before the half. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I got a freaking shot at this now, and yeah.
That's one of those. We'll hit another one for you though. So yeah, like I said, ruin our days. Let's talk about the playoff teams. How did we get to the 4 best teams, or at least 4 of the 5, playing against each other this week, Chris, in the quarterfinals? How the heck did this happen?
Because the committee has no idea what they're doing in terms of seeding teams, and they have this infatuation where you've got to give these conference. They get a bye. Like, you're giving the freaking Mountain West champ a bye. Colorado State, like, give me Arizona State got a bye. Like, come on. Great story, but and this will be the thing that they'll need to do next year is just seed it here. You put them in. That's fine. You want them in. You won your conference. That's great. But just what are your rankings? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those will be the teams that get the first round bye and move on. That's an easy fix right there. Mm-hmm. But like my issue with the seeding this year is, and what's aided in causing the problem is, how did the team, like, you want to place this emphasis on conference championships and the regular season mattering, and you won your conference and that's a reward and good for you. How the hell did Penn State and Texas, the teams that lost the conference championship games, get an easier road through the quarters than Georgia and Oregon, the teams that won their conference out against those teams?
Blows your mind.
How did they?
Texas and Penn State.
What I want to know is who in the room, apparently nobody, like, saw those rankings and they had the bracket on the board. Here's where we're gonna, like, who in the room didn't like we looked at it. Oh yeah, we got this. Oh yeah, we could have Oregon play Ohio State again. And we could have we could have Georgia play Notre Dame and we, like, who said, yep, nailed it. We got it right.
I don't know.
Like, what are you doing?
It's so crazy that the loser of the SEC championships playing ASU. They're 14-point favorites, and then Boise State, who's no schedule, gets to play Penn State. It's just crazy. It's like, are you trying to just have the good ratings for New Year's Day? Are you trying to make it more important because it's the Rose Bowl? I have no idea. It's an abomination. I mean, people should be able to keep their jobs for making such bad decisions, man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There was such this weekend, it was just social media was just a gross place to be, and everybody had their takes, and I had my takes, obviously. I'm sure you did as well. But I think we all kind of expected, and I just said this earlier, I think we all expected to have blowouts. I mean, we had blowouts in the 4-team playoff. We had blowouts in the BCS title game. Like, the gap between teams is great, and we should have expected it. But again, my biggest issue with it, and again, if you think Indiana or SMU were better, emphasis better, than Alabama or Ole Miss or Miami or South Carolina, that's fine. But college football is the most schedule-reliant, schedule-adjusted sport we have for ranking teams, comparing teams, statistics, everything.
Right.
And to not be able to understand that 11-1 by playing two teams that had a team a winning record and no wins over anybody, like how that compares to a team that went 9-3 and had a couple of close losses, but they also beat two teams that were in the top 10. Like, people have to understand that 9-3 can be better than 11-1. And until the committee uses, and again, I don't know, maybe it's changed in a couple of years since I last went through the committee mock and really went through what the committee used and what the committee can't use in there. Like, I remember there was, at the time, like, they were told that they cannot use computer power ratings as part of their evaluation because they didn't know what went into the computer ranking. So they didn't want to use anything they didn't understand to go into the evaluation. Okay, so you know what? Call Bill Connolly in to have him explain SP+. Call Jeff Sagarin in to have him explain what goes into his rating. Yeah. Have Massey go in and explain what goes into the Massey rating. Have Seth Walder come in to how FPI is created. Until they use actual power ratings to determine best, we're going to run into this problem every year because the people making the judgments here, these are former coaches, former athletic directors, people who ingrained, like, growing up in coaching and playing, win, loss, win. Right. All that matters is win. You are what your record says you are. And in college football, it's not the case. Now,
well, you know, Chris.
Now, all the great talk about, like, cheese ball and dip and ham dripping into gravy and mashed potatoes. Now you got me wound up again.
I should have asked them in different order. My bad. You know, I mean, here's the thing. These are the playoffs is clearly most deserving and not power. It's never been power because they've always had some sort of screw up or issue. I wish they would come out and say that. I just wish they had real parameters to go by because they're just winging it and just using things as an excuse, and then people come up with the conspiracy theories, which maybe have some sort of merit to. I don't know. But I don't have a problem with the teams they left out. I have the problem. I think the problem is just way more advanced that they have Ohio State playing Gorgon. That is a massive. That is way more than anything.
How could? And again, I took a ton of shit on Twitter, like, leading into Selection Day and on Selection Day. Like, I said, Ohio State should be 5. Yeah. Ohio State has a better resume than Texas or Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Or who else would have been potentially Penn State? Beat Penn State.
Yeah, in Penn State. They beat them
and held them without an offensive touchdown on their home field.
Yeah.
There was such an overreaction to the loss to Michigan, the inexplicable loss that day, that they fell way too far. But they beat Penn State. They should have been ranked ahead of them. They had They had wins against Indiana, and whether you think Indiana's any good or not, they beat Indiana, they beat Penn State. That's better wins than Texas had, that's better wins than Notre Dame had. People talk about, Ohio State lost on their home field as a 20-point favorite to Michigan. Notre Dame lost on their home field to a friggin' MAC team, and they're ranked ahead of them.
Well, and not just that.
How the committee went put these teams in that order and said, nailed it. Again, that is beyond me. I would have been in the room going nuts had they suggested this being the final ranking. Ohio State should have been 5, and they should be playing ASU this week.
Chris would have chained himself up to the table. They would not have been able to get him out of there. You only covered half of it, though. I'm
not leaving the room until this gets changed.
You only covered half of that, though. Look what it did to Oregon. I mean, you could Ohio State 5 seed. Yeah, that's all this. But the other half is just as bad because you just completely screwed over the only undefeated team that we had for the whole century. That they have to play the second best team in the freaking land.
You already beat him. You know what? You're going to have to beat him again. And then if you win that game, you're going to have to go to the Cotton Bowl in Texas and beat Texas. And then maybe, if you're able to survive that, you're probably going to have to beat Georgia in Atlanta to win the national title. So,
that would
about it. I mean, again, there's nothing you can do about that. That's where the title game is going to be. But like you talk about an absolute screw job, and I'm sure Dan Lanning is just loving this, at least from a motivational point, because those great videos that they put out, and I'm sure he's loving it from that standpoint. But from a standpoint of having to actually play Ohio State now in a warm weather controlled environment with off of Ohio State having some time off now to kind of reconfigure their offensive line and figure out that maybe getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka and defensive scheme change like that's the problem.
It's just utterly incompetence. And I'll tell you this, Lanning can't even say anything because if he says one thing, he'll jinx something he's prepping for. You can't say, you can't complain about him because it takes confidence away from your players. If my coach complains about the team I'm playing, he can't say anything, So it's just like he's in a no-win situation either. But yeah, man, you and I can go on for hours about this whole freaking.
Sure, people are loving this. Rehashing all of our venting about the college football playoff rankings.
Let's get in some games then, my man. It is Christmas, and I'm going to try to get you back in the Christmas spirit here. We're going to just look at the days because there's a lot to cover, and of course we'll cover quickly our early thoughts anyway on the college football playoffs here, but we'll start with December 26th because it's the day after Christmas. And you got 3 games: Pitt versus Toledo +7, total 50. Rutgers, Kansas State minus 6.5, total 50.5. And Arkansas State versus Bowling Green minus 7.5, total 53. Have you made any plays or any looks for these 3 games?
I have not made any plays on any of those games. I can't. I could. Is Fannin playing for Bowling Green?
I think so. That's probably why.
I could maybe get behind laying the points there with Bowling Green.
Okay.
The way their season ended, kind of caught losing on their home field to cost them a shot in the MAC title game. A little disappointing, but I could see this team, the way they're constructed and coached, and with Fannin coming back healthy now. Like I could see BG putting up a good performance there and winning this game. But I have not played that yet. But if I had to play something, that would be the thing that gravitates to me the most. I just don't know if Rutgers can score. Like I'd be all in usually for taking Greg Piano as a dog, but I just don't know if that offense is capable of scoring points.
Yeah, it's always fun to bet on Sunj. We just can't always be sure we're going to win it. That's the problem. Bowling Green, I laid 7.
Is it really fun to bet Sunj? Really?
You've got to be really picking your spots. Let's just say. I laid 7 with Bowling Green. I'd lay up to 9. It's 7. It's 7.5 now. I was hoping it'd still be at 7, but Arkansas State's the worst team in my power ratings anyway, and a lot of the public ones out there, they're the hundreds in Sager, and they're the worst team in bowl season. Bowling Green's got a +2 net yard per play advantage over them. And I will, if there's a caveat to go the opposite, I will say Butch Jones has been good in bowl games, but I just feel that Bowling Green's going to run away from this one. And there's a lot of people not playing for Arkansas State, too. And, Bowling Green had a fantastic season. I thought they were going to win the MAC, if you remember. You and I talked, and Ralph talked about that before. It was just one that barely didn't get there. So we have an agreement there. Let's move to December 27th then. And there's quite a few games. I think there's 5 games. There's Oklahoma Navy +3. Navy +3, total 43. Georgia Tech Vanderbilt +2.5, total 51.5. Texas Tech Arkansas -1.5, total 52. Syracuse Washington State +16, total 59.5. And USC hosting. Well, I guess they're the home team in Allegiant Stadium. I shouldn't say hosting, but they might have some fans there. +3.5, total 52. Chris, anything on December 27th?
Yeah, I mean, I already had played Navy +7 and played Navy +190 something on the money line. I talked about that on Bear Best Pod a couple of weeks ago, and then that line literally was moving. Literally, we got done recording the pod, and that thing started going to 4.5, like right. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's the poor timing award. I would and did lay the 3.5 with Texas A&M. From what I hear, USC is not a good place right now. Alumni are not happy. NIL people are not happy. The too deep that they're going to field in this game is going to be pretty tragic. It's just a question of how does A&M approach this game and going out to Allegiant? Like, are they disappointed with the way their season ended? But I would think Mike Elko, with his first year in College Station, I think rebuilding that culture, if they can get a win over SC to finish the year, would be a good thing. I did lay 3.5 with A&M, and I don't know how you do anything with the Holiday Bowl. At some point, is it too many against Washington State, who probably you and I could dress for right now? But, I mean, if you didn't get down on Syracuse early, and then how can you lay 16 now?
I can't now, and it almost might motivate the leftovers there. It is a massive spread. It's probably going to be one of my top ones on my bowl challenges. But, yeah, it's I think Syracuse should wipe the floor with them. I was thinking the only way to do that, Chris, was be a Washington State team total under that you got to wait for maybe a day or two before those start popping up. Washington State team total under I don't hate because – this Syracuse scores a lot of points. If the total's 59.5, you expect Syracuse to score a lot, but they can also take their foot off the gas. So that's the only one I'm looking at. But we've texted, and I'm on Navy as well. I think Navy wins the game, and I think that plus 130 is a good idea. Norman's close, and they're only 185 miles away, but I don't see how Oklahoma can be motivated here, and they just have a ton of people leaving. They don't have a receiver in the room. I was thinking maybe me and you can play receiver there, as long as it's...
I don't know. I might be able to be like the blocking tight end, maybe.
Pre-Christmas dinner. Not after Christmas dinner. We can't play it after Christmas dinner. But pre-Christmas dinner, I don't see why they're going to try to stop a hit-you-in-the-mouth team that's all showing up, all the kids showing up for Navy. Hell yeah, they're going to be motivated to win this game. I think they win the game. Plus 130 is what you can get right now. Plus 135, shop it. I like that. And I do like Georgia Tech to win, too. I think Georgia Tech was a little bit under the radar kind of this year. They did have some big upsets. Vanderbilt with Pavia, great run. But the truth is that defense is so bad on Vanderbilt. I don't think that they're going to stop Georgia Tech, and the fact that I heard Haynes King is playing is really cool. It's Pavia versus King, but I just think that Georgia Tech's a little bit better. But I did take a money line, Chris, so that's the only way I'd do it. I don't want to lay 2.5. I took them on the money line a week ago. I think I got minus 125. It's minus 135. So let's do that. With that,
this feels like one of those games that both teams are going to care, and both teams. I know Singleton went in the portal, but I mean, this will be a game where both of these teams care.
Yeah. That's very true. I think both
teams
will be
bowl game these days.
Very rare. I think this is an underrated bowl game, by the way. The Georgia Tech Vanderbilt. That's one people should probably try to watch if they can. Saturday, December 28th. There's 8 games on Saturday, Chris. Crazy. It's almost like a college football Saturday again. We got UConn. UConn versus North Carolina. North Carolina -3 now. Total 52.5. Boston College, Nebraska. Nebraska up to 3.5. That thing moved a point since this morning. 45 is the total. Louisiana versus TCU. TCU -12.5. Total 58. Iowa State versus Miami -3.5. 55.5. Miami, Ohio. Colorado State +3. And total 40.5. Very low total for the Snoop Dogg Bowl. East Carolina, NC State -6.5, total 58.5. BYU, Colorado now down to -4. This was 5.5 earlier today. Total 54.5. And Louisiana Tech versus Army. This might be the biggest spread of bowls. It was just 17.5, but it's at 17 now. The total's 44. Anything pre-flop on Saturday? I know, right?
Gross. I am inclined to think over 55.5 with Miami and Iowa State. I know Cam Ward is expected to play. I just wonder, the thing that's causing me a little bit of hesitation in sending this in is just not knowing if this is going to be a situation where you want to play, go play a quarter. We're going to give you the standing O that you rightfully deserve after the year that you've had. Play a quarter, then we're going to let Emory Williams play to kind of look ahead to 2025. We don't want you getting hurt and screw up your draft status, as you're going to be a very high pick in the draft. And then on the flip, Miami defense is absolutely atrocious. Like they can't stop anything. And you've got a couple of good wide receivers, and you got Rocco Beck, and you got an offense that should be able to move the ball and score some points. And certainly after their no-show in the Big 12 championship game, you'd think they'd want to come out and put a big number on the board. So I would lean over 55.5. Again, I wish I could get a little bit more clarity on the Cam Ward deal.
Okay, lean over on the Iowa State, Miami. No, fair enough. I didn't make a bet on Saturday yet either, so I find that weird. It's
How
like 8
can
games. I know. You can't without a good matchup where you have good data like the playoffs. You can't. In this day and age, someone's going to shock you and just sit out, and that's why I'm not laying with Nebraska. I kind of wish I got 2.5, but what if Raiola? They say he can command $12.5 million right now. Why?
No chance. No chance.
That's what they're saying. I'm not saying
no chance.
I'll retweet. I'll send you that tweet then, man, because someone put it out there that it was semi-prominent. That's what.
No shot.
Okay, well maybe he still sits out. That's the point. That's what I don't want. That's what I don't want to happen if I'm stuck on Nebraska and this thing flips on me, right? I do think Nebraska has the defense that can stop Boston College rush game, because Boston College, that's all they do is really run the ball for the most part. And Nebraska, ranked 19th in defensive rush EPA, is the only reason I was looking at that. But, dude, this is for a lot of games on Saturday, this is a freaking terrible slate, man. And awful, man. Awful. I guess Colorado's the only thing I would care to watch, but Jesus Christ.
And again, like maybe I see a 3.5 out there at the Superbook. Maybe you could lay 3.5 there. Again, give Deion Sanders and that team credit. Like he's saying, at least they're saying all the right things with Shedeur and Travis Hunter that they're playing. And again, could it be a deal where they play a half? Could they play a quarter? Like, do we know? But knowing Deion and knowing the attitude that they have about the team, and like maybe they do go out and play the entire game. When you and I both know that BYU is a little bit of a fraudulent record, and maybe, but again, I think the biggest question, and me laughing at you for saying you haven't made a single bet on Saturday, is, and you said about data, like. The data doesn't mean shit in these games, because the data is built on players and that were playing all year that aren't playing now. So it's all just bad math and numbers that are noise. So unless it's one of these college football playoff games, the data that we've been relying on, the power ratings we've been using all year, like it's the use of it's muted.
Absolutely, and that's why and I'm not saying I'm going to experiment this, but you could literally take the moneyline dogs and out of these crap games, Miami, Ohio, Colorado State, you can just do that and maybe you win. I think your chances, is just so much more variance that a couple of them will be live. It's just that, Colorado didn't play BYU this year in the Big 12, so that's why I kind of think that they will be motivated to just kind of stick it to the big BYU, who was sitting nicely high in the rankings until ASU whooped them. So that was, that's significant for Colorado to maybe make that last stamp for Deion. So that's a good point.
Maybe I'm just going to sit on the couch on Saturday night. I'm going to put my BYU quarterback shirt on. I'm going to put my Deion shades on, and I'm just going to watch a college football game.
Why not? We don't need something on it. Maybe live bet something if you're feeling good. But man, yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe something's going to come to you, because at least on the day of, we'll get our lineup information. If it's not too convoluted, then you can make a decision. What's really weird though, Chris, is on Monday, December 30th, there's only one bowl game. I found that very strange to do that. It's Iowa versus Missouri, and Missouri's -3. The total is 40. I didn't play this yet, but if I had to, I'd play Iowa. I feel like Kirk Ferentz at 12-7-1 ATS has really proven himself, but the problem is Drinkwitz is 3-0 in the bowls. So,
two teams and two coaches that are going to care about a game, which is good. And there'll probably be a really good atmosphere, a really good crowd in Nashville. So, yeah, this will be one of those rare games that you're probably going to want to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I love rare games, and it's a standalone game. And there's obviously think 1 or 2 NFL Monday night games. It was funny. The NFL's got 3 games going on Saturday too. So if these games are killing you can always switch over.
I haven't fully locked in the portal and opting out. I'm assuming Burden and Cook are not playing for Missouri.
I'll look right now, and I don't know if you see Stuckey's article, but it's really good.
Yes.
I have that up all the time, especially the whole month of December. I'll find out
because that would be my question with Missouri. Like if their full team is playing, I'd consider laying the points with Missouri here.
Well, it says potential opt-outs is Brady Cook, Theo Weiss, opt-outs Luther Burden, and Armand Membao. So
Burden is out. Okay.
Burden is out. So that's a burden on their offense.
Yeah,
pun intended. I agree. And what's up, Bobby? Thanks for stopping by. Really cool that you're listening in. And we have another question we got to get into from somebody as well as soon as we get to that game. But now let's move into the 31st, which is Tuesday, New Year's Eve. Now big games going on. Ooh, this moved. Ooh. Bama versus Michigan. Michigan plus 13.
Yes, it did move.
Jeez, plus 13.
Now it's time to jump in. There we go.
I wish I could say the same thing. I already did, but I expected Milroe to not play, but it looks like he's going to play. Louisville versus Washington. Washington plus 2.5, total 49.5. And Illinois hosting South Carolina. South Carolina plus 9.5, total 48. LSU plus 1.5, hosting Baylor, total 59.5. And then you have Penn State, obviously Boise State. We'll wait for Penn State, Boise State. What about the other ones?
Right. Well, I get a CLV award. They got a CLV award.
You sure do
for Baylor.
You sure do, my man. Great job on that one.
Let's see if we can move it. Let's see if we can move it again. And or not we, but if it does move again, and maybe I can get a little plus 3 with Baylor and a little plus 3 with LSU, and maybe we'll get lucky, right?
That's very possible, but I do think Baylor, as I said with you during Thanksgiving, me and you both had the same best bets that week with Baylor.
Yep.
I think they are the best team in the Big 12, especially with ASU's injury. And so I took Baylor money line this morning at minus 111, and that's already moving too. So I'll give it out at minus 120 right now. But I could see Baylor being the favorite here soon. So great job on the CLV, Chris, as always. It's anticipation is the biggest thing, and that's huge. I did take Michigan plus 11 or 10.5. I have to look. I understand why it went back. Alabama can play with Michigan in the trenches, and as long as they're not as stupid as Ryan Day was and keep running the ball up the middle 20 times, then they should be all right, most likely. So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit, but you know what? There's plenty of ways out of this. I can live bet out of it if Bama's looking really good.
Right.
I'm still a little bit thinking that DeBoer was a little over his skis. Bama is just an extreme high variance team that nothing surprises you. They're a top 6 team, probably power rating wise, right? One of the top teams in the nation. Mm-hmm. But that can beat anybody. But what if we see that stink bomb that they light off every once in a while? That would not be good, especially in a situation where you don't know their motivation. Now, I would assume the revenge spot from last year should kind of affect some of these kids, but maybe not. I don't know. That's what we're trying to bet right now. But bad CLV, shame on me for that one.
That's okay. The move in the Notre Dame Indiana game went against me with the total, and that wound up being a no sweat under. So,
dude,
I thought I was getting the best of the number at 51.5, and then I see 52s pop up there. I'm like, here. I'm like, you know what? Good, that's fine. And I don't mind the half-point move, and that worked out well.
And that's a perfect segue to the playoffs here, Chris, because Dogs got their asses kicked last week.
Yes, they did.
They were. What I said is that the stage was too big for some of them.
Totally.
And then guess what? I actually did take Indiana plus 8.5 on the opener as a line grab. I just never bought back, and I should have. And of course, it comes down to a 2-point conversion where he almost gets it, and the books would have got middled probably, right? I would expect the books to get middled in that situation, but no, he just dropped it. They had no business being in that game as far as they did anyway. Notre Dame just let off the gas and onside kick. But that's a good segue because I feel like you might get some of the same stuff here. You have Penn State versus Boise State, and Boise State plus 11, man. I mean, that's That's a double-digit spread for a team that's supposed to be good, and the total is 52. I mean, even though you think that's going to be run, would it shock you if Penn State puts up over 45 points here? It wouldn't shock.
Not at all.
I wouldn't shock me at all either.
I would expect Penn State to put up 40 points here.
Yeah. I'm looking at the over, maybe. There's no way I'm taking the dog. I would rather lay it with Penn State here than I would take the points. I think that, being in the neutral, and I expect more Penn State people. I'm sure Boise State will travel pretty well. I'll give Penn State a little bit for home field over there, but I just think that this is going to be too low of a total. I'll take the over.
Yeah, I would agree. It looks like the total's come down. Well, it looked like it opened 54.5, and now we're looking 52. So I wonder if we can get any lower. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the Penn State offensive line should be able to wear down the Boise. The trenches are an absolute mismatch, and you're looking at a team that is going to have to be reliant on Gentine. Now, look, they can throw a little bit, and Madsen has made some plays through the air, but against that defense, I'm not sure. Like I know people are going to point to the Oregon game and say, "Oh, they went to Austin and lost by a field goal." This is a completely different animal here. So yeah, it would be favored and over for me, which I know makes me Super Square. But hey, Super Square has been winning this year in the NFL like every single week, and Super Square won every single one of the. Actually, I shouldn't say that because there was a lot of dog love for Tennessee as well. So,
yeah, there was. Yeah.
Usually the favorites have been covering all year in the NFL. So maybe I'll hop on board here with the square train.
Well, Chris, I like
your assessment of the over more than I do laying the points.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, in last week I laid 23 with Ohio State. It kind of started going against me, but that was a live bet. It's like I was mad at myself because I was like, I'm going to live bet this. Tennessee's probably good. Ohio State starts slow, and I'm like, I'll get a better number. I got greedy, and because I was on your side, I was like, I'm thinking of laying 7.5 with Ohio State. I was on your side, and then it just went against me. I still hit that, but I also lost my under bet because, I tried to live under it when it got to 50.5, and I just didn't expect Tennessee's defense to be that rough and Ohio State to look that good, and it was just one of those, man. I lost my under bets on Texas too. Texas still scoring, man. So that was rough.
We knew Clemson was going to have a very difficult time stopping the run because they had very difficult time stopping the run all year long against the good backs that they had faced. But yeah, the Ohio State game was a shining light in the weekend for me. That was a little bit disappointing on Sunday for sure. But I had talked about it with Gil Alexander on a numbers game on Friday about it kind of laying some, and even on Bear Bets Pod, kind of laddering Ohio State and laying some alt numbers at some nice plus prices. And if you did,
you look good.
Congratulations,
absolutely. Let's move on to Texas, Arizona State. Arizona State plus 14, total 52. Dude, I think this is a good number. I mean, my power ratings actually even have it like 12.5, but I would not take the points with Arizona State. I think this is another situation, big stage situation where a team's not used to being there. I think Texas is going to have a 1 to 2 home field advantage out in Georgia there. So I think the fans will be more for Texas, in my opinion. And I think that this is another situation where now I'm scared to bet the under. I could see I'm scared, man. I'm serious. Like, ASU's defense is bad, and they haven't played a defense. They haven't played a defense all year, and it sucks because I love the Scadaboo and all that, and they lost their best receiver to injury against the U of A game, the Arizona game, which was such a crap game to lose your best receiver in. And it is what it is, man. I'm staying completely away from this game.
I lost the Clemson team total under 19.5. I'm going to go back to that with Arizona State here under whatever the team total is going to be. I haven't seen what it is yet. I don't know if it's up 9 days out or whatever we are right now from doing this. But again, I think it was Bud Elliott who had sent out a tweet like Arizona State better defensive line faced what they're going to face against Texas or the 4 best defensive linemen they faced all year in the Big 12. And it's kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's a great point. Like
you could make an all-star game against. You could make an all-star game in the Big 12, and the Texas's defensive line would be better than the all-star team.
I can't see Arizona State having any success. Scadaboo's great, but there's no threat of a pass game. Their offensive line is probably going to get manhandled up front by Texas. ASU team total would be the way I would play this. Again, does the game get so far out of hand that maybe Texas takes the foot off the gas a little bit? I wouldn't think so, just because I think the way that game against Clemson went, where Clemson kind of worked their way back in the game. I would think you're going to see 60 minutes from Texas, and if they do show for 60 minutes, that's going to be a very bad result for the Sun Devils.
Would that be 33-19 to get to 52, right? And then you're looking at 14 points right there. So,
and that's saying that ASU is going to hold Texas to 33.
Right, of course. And so that's why you're looking at the team total more. They probably don't get to 17, I guess, right? That's kind of what the thought is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They'll probably put. You think they'll go if they go 16 and a half? That would be nice.
All right,
and they might even go less than that.
Well, I wrote that down because I'm kind of with you on that, so I'm going to wait till it comes out as well. Let's move on to Ohio State, Oregon. Oregon plus 2.5, total 54. So this is a question from Big Al. He's asking me why this line flipped. He says, I must have missed some news. Did something happen? Oregon was minus 132 on the look ahead, and now they're plus 2.5 in the game, or was it just Ohio State's performance? And I'm pretty sure it's just Ohio State's performance that moved this line. And
but they were also favored at Autzen by a field goal. So it shouldn't be too I think those DraftKings and FanDuel look ahead numbers were a little off, because I talked to Chris Andrews and Vinny Malaiolo on Friday, and I said, I know you guys hate playing the hypotheticals but if we get Oregon, Ohio State, I'm like, Ohio State's going to open 1.5, right? And I think he said my number actually is going to be a little higher. So
yeah,
shouldn't be too surprising that Ohio State opened where they got bet up to where they did, considering where they were at Autzen, considering they lost by a point on the road in a highly competitive game, and now you have Ohio State kind of figured out their offensive line a little bit. They're obviously the offensive scheme a little bit. Now they know, okay, Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, that's the strength of our offense. We're doing that. And most importantly, the defensive scheme, the kind of the change coupled with that loss at Oregon, things are a little bit different. So if we get the Ohio State that we got on Saturday night, that team is very capable of winning the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a good Oregon team, and their experience, and they got weapons. So it would not surprise me at all to see Oregon win this game.
Oh, I have these two teams in the top, and 1 and 2, and really equal, though. I don't know what to do with it, because I really think that Danny Lanning is the better trustable coach, and I think that could play a difference like it did their last game. I think that Ryan Day's got a little bit more of the skill, the NFL, just a little bit more, right, on some of those positions there, Sawyer and, those guys on defense, and obviously all skill positions on offense, Jeremiah Smith and everybody. I feel like Oregon's the most complete team. Ohio State's the most skilled team in the whole thing. And I said Notre Dame's the most dangerous team. So I think that any 3 I'll seriously take. If it was 3 on Oregon side, I would take it. If it was 3 on Ohio State side, I would take it, Chris, just for a numbers grab. And I think that'd be an okay play. But I don't think it gets there.
No, I don't think it will either. I'd be surprised. Yeah. And if it does, you better have the screen up right away and fire right away, because it'll last 90 seconds.
All right. Well, let's see if you have a play in the final game of the playoffs. And I just want to say real quick, I think that Oregon Ohio State should have been the national championship game. But let's leave it at that.
Yeah. They should have been on.
Yeah.
Or at least the semis. Or at least the semis.
Notre Dame, Georgia.
2 of the best 4 teams in the country, maybe 2 of the best 3. or maybe the best two.
Yeah, I have Ohio State, and just like I said, I have them too. It's not like there's a big separation between Notre Dame and Georgia, but Notre Dame and Georgia also stuck playing each other, and Georgia's minus 1.5, total 44. Chris, I do have a play in this one. I was wondering if you made one pre-flop here or anything coming up.
I did make a play. I like over 44.
Okay. Okay.
I think I'm not. I have a ton of Georgia futures, but again, it's too early for me to kind of try and play my way out of it because, if they were to beat Notre Dame and then I'm chasing again when they play Penn State, it's hard for me to do. So, maybe I'll play a little Notre Dame money line, but I think this is a higher scoring game. I think Georgia's offensive line against the Notre Dame defensive line with the injury now. I think they.
How bad is his injury? Number 90.
Well, he's out for the year. They announced that he's out. He has a knee injury, so they thought initially after the game that they could have him back in the playoff, but I saw a story today that announcing that he is done, which sucks.
Yeah.
But I think obviously Georgia, you're not going to get any sympathy from Georgia, being that they lost their starting quarterback for the year and some other players throughout the year as well. But I think Georgia will be able to run the ball on Notre Dame. And on the flip side, who knows what the quarterback run game and Love, how they will do against the Georgia defense, which has given up some yards and points at times this year. So over 44 is where I landed here early on, and again, no play on the side.
All right. No, that's fair. I have Notre Dame, and I like them at plus 1.5, even with the injury there. I thought the other guys filled in pretty well. And when you're talking about a Notre Dame team, they do have depth. It's not quite as much as Ohio State's, but it's there. I can't bet a team with a true freshman quarterback just going into the situation. The truth is that he did not really look that good against Texas when he came in. And the bottom line was it was Georgia's defense that won that game. Now, does Georgia's defense step up? Probably. Is it going to be enough to keep it under the total? I doubt it. I think, like I said, Notre Dame's the most dangerous team. They have a 1.12 net yard per play advantage. Now, yeah, their schedule is a little bit easier, but they have a quarterback. I mean, this could be the biggest no-duh slap in the face that you might see is like, holy cow, that's a freshman quarterback there, and they're going to give him fits. And I think that's where the coach, Freeman, is going to scheme up some stuff on defense to really force him into some mistakes here. This is not the Georgia team we saw from the past 5 years. They're only ranked 35th in defensive EPA. They're less than 1 net yard per play themselves. I mean, Georgia used to be in the twos, man, 2.3 and 2.5 and 2.7. This is a problem with the true freshman quarterback. He's going to have a lot on his plate.
Well, he's a sophomore, Stockton. He's been there.
Okay. Well, he hasn't thrown much.
and it's funny. I talked to a bunch of people around Georgia who are familiar with that program, who have been there and been at practice and be like, he can play. But again, I don't know what we're expecting from him. I know you aren't expecting much, but I think just to play devil's advocate with you, I think the fact that he's going to get nearly a month now of reps with the ones day in and day out. He's been practicing against the one defense. But to be practicing with the ones on offense now, I think that will help him. And I also think it kind of gives Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart a little bit of an edge, per se, at least in terms of game plan, because I think now they're going to be able to run some wrinkles. Stockton certainly appears to be a little bit more of a runner, a little bit more of a short pass, which could help maybe with screens and slants and quick hitters. And some design quarterback runs. So maybe they're able to surprise Notre Dame with some of the things they can draw early on.
I saw Curtis Rourke play against Notre Dame, and he better be a hell of a lot better than him because that defense was jumping routes and grabbing passes, and I am seriously concerned for Georgia in this. Don't get me wrong, Georgia still has a successful season. They won the SEC. They made the playoffs, and now they just don't have that quarterback. If this was in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I'd probably think differently, but I'm going to say that Notre Dame's going to have half the crowd there, man, out in New Orleans. Is that fair? I think Notre Dame guys travel very well. They might even have a little bit more of an advantage.
Yeah, no, there'll definitely be a huge Notre Dame contingent there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be enough one way or another to really give an edge, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a momentum game, and of course, Notre Dame has to play their game. obviously the quarterback's got to show how he got there, and they've been ever since that awful loss they had. And I remember what happened to Ohio State, and they lost to Virginia Tech, and just the rest was history. It kind of feels like that situation to me, a little bit Notre Dame. So let's just cover the rest of the days. We got January 2nd, Duke versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss minus 14.5, total 52. Friday, January 3rd, North Texas versus Texas State, minus 13.5, Chris. Another massive spread. Minnesota versus Virginia Tech, Minnesota minus 6.5. And that's also on January 3rd. And then finally, January 4th, Buffalo, Liberty plus 2, total 51. Anything you're kind of keying in on these? I
hate saying what I did bet early on, but there was like an 11.5. I think it was rogue at FanDuel early on with Ole Miss, and I grabbed that. I would still lay 14.5 with Ole Miss. And normally you worry about these SEC teams who don't make the playoff and their motivation, but I think the X factor here is Lane Kiffin, and they're playing Duke. And I believe Dart's going to play, and a lot of these people are going to play for Ole Miss. The fact that Duke is an SMU opponent, and SMU survived against them on a blocked field goal or PAT, whatever it was late, and that's an SMU win. I think Lane Kiffin, we've seen him in social media, be very active, be very outspoken, being very vocal. I think he is out to prove a point and win this game by as many points as he can to kind of back up his bravado or back up his talk. And I can see it now, like the post-game tweet, like putting up like SMU, whatever was it, 28-27 or something like that. Whatever the SMU Duke final score was compared to Ole Miss 47.
Oh, he already has it tweeted out. He has it ready. It's just going to be auto-sent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the schedule update the final, and it goes. So, yeah, This could be a very, very, very ugly game in Jacksonville.
I don't disagree with that. I have Ole Miss as one of the certain teams that could massively blow them out, and possibly Duke doesn't even score. I think a Duke team total under is not a bad situation either, so I'm going to be looking at that when that comes up.
And Malik Murphy's gone too, so Duke doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, somehow Oregon State got him. I'm like, what
a weird career arc for Malik Murphy. Like, you go from Texas to Duke to now Oregon State, which is like basically a Big Sky program.
Yeah, it's nothing. That program is going in the wrong direction. I don't understand that move. No amount of, I wouldn't say no amount of money, but Jesus, man, if anyone was even close to that offer, I would go somewhere else for my chances to possibly maybe move to the next level. So it just makes no sense. I'm going to look at Minnesota. I know they're minus 6.5 right now. I'm definitely not betting it early. Virginia Tech is obviously out with Kylan Drones and a few other guys. A couple other quarterbacks are banged up. But it's mostly because P.J. Fleck is 9-2-1 ATS this year. Or not this year. Yeah, he is this year. No, actually in Bowls he's 4-1. 9-2-1 ATS this year. So, sorry, I wrote that wrong. But I will say that shows me he really cares about covering, man. I think he's a good covering coach. Of course, it's a secondary thing to his mind. But he's a great covering coach, and I could see them winning this game. So we'll key in on that. But that brings us to our beer bet bangers, Chris. Any plus money long shots that you have in mind?
Now, I do, but it's not in college football.
That is great. Absolutely, we will love to hear about anything. We'll bet on anything, my man. Cricket races.
Yeah, I would look at plus 1,000, 10-1 on Manchester City to get relegated from the English Premier League, and I say that not thinking that they're going to actually do it on their own merit by losing the rest of the year. But I think there's a really good chance that the verdict with the 115 charges against them, I think it comes down where they get docked a ton of points this year. And City certainly have a ton of injuries and a ton of issues, and they've been bad, and they're not going to make Champions League. But I think I wonder if there's this little bit of a handshake agreement or understanding or nod that Pep Guardiola has announced he's going to come back next year. He's going to fulfill his contract. And I wonder if it's like, okay, they know they're going to get hit hard. Pep stay. We're going to go down to the championship next year. We'll win it, get us back up for the following year to get us in a good spot. So, again, this is just me playing a little bit of kind of forecasting, conspiracy theory. Maybe it's something, maybe it's not. But at 10-1, I'm willing to take a chance on Man City to get relegated at the end of the year.
To get relegated. See, that's stuff I don't know about. I don't bet soccer. I know you tweet about it every morning, though. So it's like Chris is on something this morning. You know, no, that's great. I love 10-1. That's a hell of a beer bet banger, and so we'll give you credit for that if that comes up. I'm just going to stick with the Notre Dame thing. I really think, and I'll answer my next question about who wins the national champion. I think it's going to be Oregon or Ohio State. I'm not sure which one. But I will say that the fact that I think that Notre Dame's going to get there, I'll bet them 7-1 to get to the national championship, and just for a beer bet banger for the fun of this show. And maybe I'll hedge it out of it if I'm feeling frisky. But there you have it. That's 2 beer bet bangers for you. Chris, who wins the national championship?
I picked in my little Fox Sports asked me to do a little thing bracket, fill it out, and I got Ohio State.
All right, Ohio State. I like it. No, I think that was a contrarian play, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of people that weren't on it.
I think there was too much of an overreaction. I went through it again with the loss to Michigan. I don't ever want to say a loss to Michigan could be the best thing that could happen to Ohio State, but Ohio State has a Michigan problem, not an overall overarching grand scheme of things problem. Like, that team is more talented than probably anyone in the country.
Right.
I know, like I said, the offensive line's got some issues, but on a neutral field, I'll pick them to beat anybody.
All right, well, there you go. Ohio State for the national championship. I don't disagree with you. I know the NFL lines came out. Anything in the NFL yet?
Oh, you see the list of quarterbacks that we could potentially be seeing in the NFL this week? Like,
it's bad.
DTR, Mason Rudolph, Mac Jones. You have Aiden O'Connell.
So bad.
Spencer Rattler. Like, goodness gracious. There are some Kenny Pickett could maybe start for Jalen Hurts. Like, my goodness. How the hell could you bet anything?
No,
with this dog shit league. But I would actually lay the 2.5. I would lay the 2.5 with Kansas City and Pittsburgh. I know the Steelers say that they're going to get a bunch of guys back, but the fact that the Chiefs can get that 1 seed, if they can win on Christmas, you're not playing another meaningful game until January 18th or 19th at the earliest.
Yeah.
Like, you get to punt next week against Denver in the last regular season game. You got a couple of weeks of that is a massive opportunity for the Chiefs and all their veterans to kind of heal up. Pittsburgh's been a great story this year, but I think I'll lay the 2.5 with Kansas City here.
Look at that, and their money line's not that good. It's -142 on DraftKings.
Or you could do that.
Yeah, well, I normally do if it's like -135, but it's not. It's 2.5, and it's not even -135. It's so weird. That's just the book's not releasing it yet, basically. But I'll look at a money line. Maybe you get down to 2, and Pittsburgh's a little bit of a public dog. I agree with you. I think the whole, just love for Pittsburgh was just based upon them being fortunate. Their schedule was supposed to be really hard, but some of those teams weren't that hard this year that we thought were going to be hard. It just happened. And look at Chris busting out a Christmas play for us. That is amazing.
Merry Christmas.
Well, I got something worse for you. I took the Jets at +10, and this is maybe the first time I bet on the Jets since early in the season, and I bet the Rams.
The only side I played in the NFL yesterday was Jets +3.
Yeah, I laid the Rams when it got down to 3, so I was fortunate that I was like, okay, it's the Jets, but the only thing reason I like 10, they play Buffalo hard. They beat Buffalo they lost to Buffalo by 3.
Yep, close game.
Buffalo's got defensive issues still. Quarterback's a little banged up. I'm not sure how bad his elbow is, but something. And Aaron Rodgers.
You played this already.
I played 10. I think it gets down to 7.5. I think that.
Right, that was going to be my follow-up, because if the Chiefs win on Christmas, this game means absolutely nothing for the Bills.
Absolutely. and absolutely.
So you would assume that this line would come down. So that was my rationale.
It's a good rationale too, because that's a backup too. Now, I think that even if it doesn't, the skill of the receivers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, say what you want, I just think they can keep it within 10. So that's another thought of mine as well. But here we are, Chris. We got the playoffs ahead of us. We got a great Bear Bets pod we're about to listen to this week. Where can our listeners get your great information and plays?
Yeah, Bear Bets pod we're going to record the day after Christmas this week. College football playoff quarterfinals. This week of NFL Drek that we have going on, and we'll obviously have a little bit of clarity on the Chiefs, Steelers, and the Ravens, Texans as well. But yeah, Thursday that will be up, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch of other stuff throughout the week as well.
All right, my man. Make sure you guys check out Chris Fallica. Chris, keep me posted on what you're munching on this Wednesday on Christmas.
We will.
All right, now it's time for a little fantasy football Week 17 championship. And Dave is out on holiday, so I'm just going to cover it nice and easily since this podcast was nice and long. So that way you know who to pick up to win your championship. So let's get into the injuries, man. Jalen Hurts in concussion protocol. That's really made a big effect on that game, and they lost it outright because of that. That's for sure. It was because of Jalen Hurts being out. So we'll see if he can make it to the next game. Running back James Conner went down with a knee injury, so that's very significant. We'll see if they even play him next game. I don't know why you would. I would sit him for next year since they're out of the playoffs. Wide receiver Jalen Tolbert hurt his finger against the Bucs, so that's another thing to look for. Running back Kenneth Walker did not return against the Vikings in the fourth quarter, so that's another one to look for. And the big injury was Tank Dell. Blew out his knee. So sad. He's out for this season and possibly half of next season or longer. So he's going to be in a lot of trouble rehabbing that knee. And, just going to miss time. That's really rough, those ACL tears in the late in the season. So waiver wire, we got to go with Kenny Pickett if you want to stream. Maybe you don't have a good quarterback going this week, so think about him. Running back DJ Dallas will be huge for the Cardinals, and Michael Carter maybe too for the Cardinals with that Connor injury. Running back Kenny McIntosh for the Walker injury is big, so I'm sure Zach Charbonnet is owned, but if that's the case, grab Kenny McIntosh. Wide receiver Olamide Zacchaeus had 8 targets and 2 touchdowns for the Commodores, so the Commanders, whatever. Wide receiver Robert Woods will get more touches this week for the Texans with that Dell injury, in my opinion. Running back Amir Abdul could be big at New Orleans, so he did really well last week. Tight end Chig Okonkwo had 11 targets by Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. So maybe he'll get more targets this week. Moving into our sleepers, running back Rashad White should have a big game against the Panthers. Running back Gus Edwards against the Patriots is nice. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley against the Colts might do something. Quarterback CJ Stroud might be back in the starter role against the Ravens this week. Ravens' bad pass defense. Robert Woods, just like that, I think could have a big game, feeding from CJ Stroud. Quarterback Bryce Young against the Buccaneers has potential, and wide receiver Adam Thielen against the Buccaneers, it should be big, man. They're trying to win games out there in Carolina, and I was like, all right, mess up your draft pick again, guys. Quarterback Brock Purdy against the 49ers is solid. Running back Audric Estime against the Bengals, I think, is big. Man, he's really moving ahead of Javonte Williams. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel might get more carries this week as a running back. So he was a wide receiver, but he's going to get running back carries most likely. So I find that really interesting that he can get some extra points for you like a running back in the wide receiver position, unless your league adjusts and gives him a slash RB this week. Quarterback Anthony Richardson at the Giants should be a big game for him, and quarterback Michael Penix at the Commies is interesting. Penix did okay his first debut, throwing for around 200 yards. Now for the bus. Running back Joe Mixon against the Ravens is sus. It's a little worrisome. Anytime you have a running back against the Ravens, running back Josh Jacobs against the Vikings is rough. The Vikings have a wonderful rush defense. Running back Devon Achane against Cleveland in the cold is bad. And then quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in the cold in Cleveland is bad. So, man, not a good week for Tua. Quarterback Jordan Love at the Vikings won't have much love either. So I think he could possibly be a bust. Unfortunately, Dave would probably disagree. He's actually going to the Packer game tonight, so good for him. And hopefully he has some fun. But, Jordan Love next week against the Vikings is really tough. And that brings me to our nasty sleeper. And I'm actually going to go with Mason Rudolph against the Jaguars. I think he's going to have a great game, and he's looked good last week. But I'm also going to give you the bonus one. I already mentioned his name, Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen's going to be a sleeper this week to help win your championship game against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have a poor pass defense. Even the Cowboys were able to move the ball, as you saw in Sunday Night Football. So there you have it, my friends. That's your fantasy football forecast for championship week. I hope you all win your fantasy leagues, or at least win your number one draft pick position. Now let's recap my plays. Bowling Green minus 7.5. Georgia Tech money line minus 125. Navy money line plus 130. And Georgia Tech I like up to minus 135, just to let you know. It depends upon the book. Baylor money line at minus 120. Notre Dame plus 1.5 is the plays that I discussed with Chris. I also have a bunch of leans, but we just have to wait and see, making sure some of these guys are in or out. Chris is going to want the Arizona team total under, Arizona State that is, against Texas. Notre Dame, Georgia over he likes. He sees points in Notre Dame, Georgia. And Ole Miss he likes at minus 14.5-ish. He's got a much better number, but that's kind of like what he was looking at. And Chris's beer bet banger, Man City, at 10-1. And he mentioned something about the regulatory. I don't understand that as a soccer non-soccer fan, I should say. I don't bet any soccer, never do. So that's something you'll have to look into a little bit. But mine's Penn State to win the college football national championship at 7-1 on FanDuel. So I took a little bit of that for my beer bet banger, my friends. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Odds Breakers. Thank you so much for being there for us all year long. I really appreciate some of the feedback I get from you guys. I love hearing feedback. So if you want to say anything, I'd love to retweet it for you or talk about a topic, or just, hearing from you guys is wonderful. So at the Odds Breakers, as you always know, like I said, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. I hope you enjoy it. Be safe. Enjoy all the family. Enjoy all these massive football games. And go get some winners.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. mistletoeing, and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time, yes, the most wonderful time, oh, the most wonderful